Folks, welcome to the Doctor's Clinic. Your host tonight, D.W. Daniel Whited from Denver. D.W., take it away.
What an honor to a chance to be with everyone tonight and to move into what we call our Doctor's Clinic. And we have Dr. Kirk Fisnick is with us. And Doctor, I just had a blast. We just spent a week with some of our other buddies out in Cancun, and we learned a lot in what we have our hands on. We've learned so much. And tonight we're going to get to an interesting topic and subject, and it affects absolutely everybody. And it can affect you in a very positive way or a very negative way. It depends on your intake on what you learned this evening and how you can begin to approach better ways of handling it. And this topic's going to be, we're going to get into hormones. And it doesn't matter, male or female, everybody has hormones, and they're either working for you or they're working against you. And then there's just natural stages of life that cause things to kick in that you might be aware of but not know how to handle. And we'll give you a couple illustrations and share a few things with you. But Dr. Kirk, welcome to the call tonight, and we're just so glad to have you to be a part of this. And what you've done these last few weeks has really been a blessing to everyone. But tonight we're going to get into the hormones and how they play a vital role in everyone's life. So and we've got a couple of products that can help support people in multiple ways, whether they be a young teenager, whether it be someone that's an older person, male, female, going through different stages. This is a long topic. When I begin to break it down and look at it, Doc, there's so much information and so much support that Tom Maurer and the Sisel system has for us when it comes to assisting and aiding in basically keeping our hormones in check position so they stay in the right lane and work for us and not against us. So, Dr. Fisnick, welcome to the call, my friend.
Hey, thank you, DW, and it was a blast spending time with you and your wife down in Mexico, and glad to be back in the States, though, even though it's a little colder.
Absolutely. We're glad you're back here. And so let's just pop right into it. What is, when it comes to the hormones, talk about, some of the effects that they have and just jump into maybe even a little bit of the different stages of life and we'll just, you and I just kind of like let people be informed on what's going on out here.
You bet, DW. Well, the thing about hormones is that, it plays an important role in everyone's health, and we hear about it a lot more in women's health and in women's well-being, and that's mainly because they have some real drastic changes in throughout their life, and every month they have a change in hormones, where guys, we have kind of a slow, gradual change, and we see things happening, and really you don't see the drastic changes until you're like 70. But it's really becoming an issue with hormonal changes now that affect disease because it's natural for certain stages of life. But what we're seeing is that because of exogenous, which means things from the outside affecting the inside, exogenous changes, we're starting to see these changes with the hormones at a lot earlier times. And what I mean by that is that, like when I was a kid, when I was growing up, a young boy and teenager in North Dakota, young girls looked like young girls, and now you're starting to see that the females are starting to have their menstrual cycles starting sometimes as low as I've heard of 6 years old, DW.
Wow.
And that's not normal. That's just not normal. And you start seeing breast development at 8 years old and 10 years old, and you start thinking, holy cow, there's something going wrong with what we're doing, and then later on in life, what's that going to do? And so I think that's the issue that we really need people to be aware of, is that it is an issue. But while this is happening with the female, what's it doing to the male? What's it doing to you? What's it doing to me? What's it doing to our boys and other people's sons? And so that's kind of what I wanted to hit on tonight, and then maybe give some people ideas of things that they can do at home, things that they can change in their lifestyle, in their life to make a difference, and maybe using a couple of the Sisel products to make a change with that. But there's a lot of diseases that are caused by hormonal imbalances. In both sexes, you're going to see symptoms of mood changes, people being moody. You're going to see changes in sexual desire. You're going to be seeing fertility problems. And, you know, in both sexes, both men and women, hormones are one of the major causes of cancer, and more we're reading about that, and that's something that I want to talk to everybody about tonight. But again, you know, just thinking about it, we're more aware of those hormonal changes in women because of the fact that every month, every 28 days, there's a change in their body, and then there's distinct changes from, you know, being a young girl to a teenager to a, you know, 20, 30-year-old, a fertile female, and then when you see menopause coming on. But there's other things too, like it affects energy levels, right? And you can see people where they just have low energy because their hormones are way thrown off. Weight, we see, you know, coming up here in January, everybody's going to be hitting the scales and trying to lose weight. But you know, what if all they're doing is dieting and they're not losing weight, and they go, oh, this isn't working for me? Well, what if it's not a problem related to what they're eating? What if it's not because they're eating too much? What if it's that they're exposed to some exogenous estrogens that just really messed up their system? And then we see a lot of people going to the doctor these days and getting drugs for infertility issues, and maybe what the person needs is to balance that out. So that's kind of some of the things that I wanted to talk about. But even diabetes can affect it. It can cause low testosterone, and in men, you know, it's natural to have a slow, gradual decline in testosterone, but when you see it happening really, really early, I mean, you can see men in their 40s having changes, and then the changes are more drastic, like I said, after they get to be 70. But a normal, healthy man, you know, really develops and makes a sperm well into their 80s, right? And you think about that, well into your 80s, and now you hear of young men in their 20s and 30s having ED, you know, erectile dysfunction type of problems. I mean, it's crazy to hear that. But you know, with women, you know, their body as they get older, the ovaries just cease. They quit producing the estrogens and progesterones, and then the adrenal glands have to take over. But in men, the testes never run out of the substance that they need to make testosterone. So that's kind of interesting when you look at that as well. But you know, a hormone, it's defined as a chemical substance that's produced by an endocrine gland in your body, and it has an effect on the activities of another organ. And you know, the male and female hormones, of course, are the estrogens and androgens. And in men, we have estrogen, and in women, they have the androgens. For example, like a man produces 7 milligrams of androgens per day. Meanwhile, a female only produces half a milligram. You know, so you can see it's in different balances. And same thing with women's hormones with estrogens. Men produce very little of it. And this was kind of interesting. You know, scientists, they haven't found a known function for estrogens in men, but they do notice is that when there's high levels of it, there's a decrease in sexual appetite. You get the erectile dysfunction. You have breast enlargement, as well as some other female characteristics. So as we're talking about what's going on, for the guys on the call tonight or listen to the recording, for the women that are on the phone, and you have men in your life, think about it. How is that affecting your boys? How is it affecting the male in your life? And so that's what we kind of talk about. But you know, nutrition and diet is really important to talk about at this point, because every day we eat, every day we drink water, and it's just loaded up with estrogen mimickers. And I tell people avoid the processed foods, because this is one of the areas that you see a lot of it. And you see the processed foods, they have flavor enhancers, they have in chemicals that are put in there just merely for the reason of getting you to eat more. And the meat industry, I'm here in North Dakota. I know, DW, you're from Kansas, and we produce a lot of the beef. We eat a lot. We have a lot of cattle, and a lot of these cattle are raised on feedlots. And in the feed, there's hormones put in there to make the animals grow faster, to make them grow fatter. Chickens and poultry, turkeys here, Thanksgiving's coming up in a couple of days. A lot of these animals are raised with estrogens as well. And when you cook that meat, it doesn't cook the hormone out of there. And so these estrogens and estrogen mimickers, then they get into your body, and what is it going to do? Well, in a lot of cases, most of the estrogens that you see, the exogenous ones, the ones that aren't from your body, the ones that are out there, they are much stronger than the ones your body produces. And so I try and tell people there's really three types of estrogens. There's the good. Those are the ones that your body makes, and they're healthy and they keep the health of the cell. Then there's the what I call the bads. Those are the ones your body makes, but your body's, and it can trigger cancer, but your body still knows how to get rid of them. And then there's the ugly ones. Those are the exogenous ones, the ones that we get from the environment. And those are the ones that what makes them the ugly ones is that your liver doesn't know how to get rid of them. It can't break them down and excrete them. And so when we talk about the bad ones, we're talking about the uglies. And these estrogens are they're everywhere. They're fat soluble. And so you start thinking about it. Why do we see breast cancer, uterine cancer, cervical cancer in women, right? And we don't see quite as much prostate cancer in men. And the reason is because, these hormones are fat soluble. So you think of the breast tissue and the pelvic region, those are primarily the large fatty areas in a female, and so that's where these estrogens are stored. So then they trigger the cell to go into that cancer production. And in men, our main area of fat is right around the middle section, right around the belly, and so we don't see quite as much of a problem with it, but it's still there. It's still there. The other place that we see a lot of these estrogen mimickers are really in the foods that we eat as far as plants and vegetables. So even if you're trying to be healthy and you're grabbing your fruits and vegetables are from around the outside of the grocery store where the good vegetables and stuff are, how do you get those pesticides off? Because most pesticides and sprays are actually made with hormone mimickers, estrogen mimickers, and they do the same things that I've been talking about, the bad things. And so we have to think about that. How does that actually work to kill a bug? Well, it gets into the bug's body through the bug's estrogen system. Well, what do you think that does in us? And then you start thinking about what does it do to the good bugs in us, because we actually have more healthy bacteria in our digestive system than we do in actual cells in our body. But so that's some things to think about. And then I always talk about water as well. And I first kind of became aware of this about 10 years ago. A friend of mine, a patient of mine up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, he worked for the Minneapolis City Water Department for 40 years. And he said that they could get out almost every chemical out of the water, but they couldn't get the estrogens out. On a large scale, they couldn't get the estrogens out, and he wasn't aware of all the places that estrogens come from. He just thought it came from, the women pee in the toilet, and then that estrogen gets down into the water, and it gets into the water table and things like that. So that's where he thought it came from. And I started telling him, well, you got to think about the farm runoff. You got to think about all the other places that it comes from. But it does come from the water. You ingest it, and then you do excrete it through your urine, and then that water is recycled. Well, if they don't have a system for taking that out of there, it goes back in, and so our bodies are affected by that. So what else? What else can affect the estrogen imbalances? And a lot of it, just even lack of exercise. If you're not getting any exercise, it causes an imbalance. If you're stressed out, if you're running through life, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago on this call, we talked about stress a lot. But stress will trigger a lot of the different kinds of hormones to affect the body, and it triggers the body to change the testosterone into an inactive form of testosterone. It'll change the estrogen more into testosterone. And that's why after a while you see a female who's really stressed out, you start to see more growth of facial hair, right? And they actually, I know women that have to shave because they get so much facial hair because their estrogen is being converted into a type of testosterone. And then you also start to see women that they start to develop kind of what I call, what a lot of scientists are called the male fat pattern, where they start to get the bigger belly like the guys get when we get fat. Instead of having the fat deposits around the breast and the pelvic region, they start to put it on around the middle. So stress can do that. Emotional issues can do that. And so the treatment that you get when you go to the medical doctor, it in itself is bad, because they're going to use another hormone, and it's an exogenous estrogen. It's been reported to be highly carcinogenic, and there really are a lot simpler and gentler ways of looking at it. And so, that's some of the things that we want to look at. And I'm looking at the time. I had a lot of stuff that I want to talk about, but I'm just going to jump into talking about these things that these chemicals that we find in plastic, right? And triclosan. I mean, you think about it was about 25 years ago, when they first introduced antibacterial soaps, and I was reading up on it. I thought this isn't good. This is bad. And they started putting it in everything. Antibacterial. There's antibacterials in your triclosan in toothpaste, not in your toothpaste, DW, because I know you use the Sisel toothpaste, but in anybody that uses a commercial toothpaste, they got bug killers in the toothpaste, right? And this bug killer is going to cause hormone imbalances, and it's in antibacterial soap. And in Minnesota last year, they banned using antibacterial soaps in public offices, in the state-run offices, because they said, well, it's not good. And I thought, well, that's good. That's one step forward. But then you read the study, and they said, well, it's not good because it kills the fish. They didn't care about the fact that it's killing you and me. They just were like, well, it's because it's killing the fish. And they make a lot of money from fishing in Minnesota, so that was something that they talked about. But there's a growing number of science that says that when you start looking at the increased rates of breast cancer, prostate cancer, testicular cancers, things like that, are these chemicals causing the problem? And my answer to it is absolutely yes. And so over the last 100 years, we've doubled the life expectancy of the human. And these soft tissue glands, they create hormones, and they're being forced to produce more hormones for longer periods of time than they were ever expected to. So with the ever-increasing and stressful lives that we have, worsening nutrition, lack of exercise, all of this, we start to see a problem. And I'm getting kind of long-winded here on this, but in 2011, they said that 4 out of 10 cancers could be prevented. I mean, that's almost half, DW. Half of cancers could be prevented just by changing diet, quitting smoking, losing some weight, drinking less alcohol, increasing exercise, all those things that we really have under control. But yet the media has everybody convinced that it's genetics, and so I was coming home from Mexico, sitting next to a lady who had her she had the breasts removed, and she said, well, because my mom had cancer, so I just had them taken off. And so they've got these women convinced that it's a genetic part of it. But really, DW, when you look at it, most of the studies that I've read say that it's only 10 to 30% of the actual cause, and the other 70% or so is actually triggered by the environment. So tonight we really want to talk about the Inner Chi product, and there's two versions of the Inner Chi, one for him and one for her, because bottom line is that even though our hormones are real similar, we are different. And so the females have a little bit more of the estrogen type of hormones, and the men have the higher androgens. But the imbalance is really triggered in most cases not by too much testosterone. I mean, you go out in the environment and you start looking at problems, chemicals that are out there, hormones in the pesticides and things that you don't find a lot of. You don't hear about testosterone mimickers, right? You hear about estrogen mimickers, and these estrogen mimickers, what they do is they affect the estrogen, and they affect the androgens as well. And like I was saying earlier, you just start walking around, you start paying attention to what's happening, and you can really see the effects of it, as we went from the 1950s to here we are in the 21st century. And you see that all these chemicals that we've been producing, they're starting to show effects now, and they're starting to show some problems. But, both of these products, whether it's the Inner Chi for him or the Inner Chi for her, they have an ingredient called kudzu. And kudzu comes from over in Thailand. Another name for it is Praeria mirifica. And I became aware of this. I'm trying to think back. I mean, in my clinic, I bet it was 20 years ago that I started hearing about this, and they were calling it HRT, right? If you looked up HRT, and that they were showing that it really helped to balance the hormones, and back then they were using it as a replacement for Premarin, right? Premarin. And everybody knows what Premarin stands for. It's from pregnant. That's where the PRE comes from. Horse, which was the mare, M-A-R, and then the in, which comes from urine. And so it was, pregnant horse or, pregnant female horse urine. And that's where they got the estrogens that they made Premarin from. Well, of course that's going to get rid of the effects of menopause, right? Because it's like 1,000 times stronger than the estrogens that the female body makes. And so it's going to trick the body into thinking, hey, something's going on here. But the problem with it is that if it's that much stronger, you got to just in your mind think that can't be good. And so kudzu has been used in Chinese medicine since about 200 BC. That's 200 years before Christ. They were using this in Chinese medicine, right? So it's not like something that just was thrown on the market yesterday. It's just that we're really starting to get it out there because people are starting to look at, what can we do natural? So it's a powerful antioxidant, which we really know a lot about antioxidants, since Tom's been talking about the super H2 system, our diatomic hydrogen system. He talks a lot about antioxidants, right? And I just tell people real simply, think about this, is that, if you take and spill some gasoline on the hands, we know that with less than 30 seconds you can measure in your urine. As it goes from your hand to your urine, it passes by cells and it steals electrons, and that's why we call it a toxin, and that triggers a free radical. And what an antioxidant like vitamin C does, or like Praeria mirifica does, kudzu, it donates an electron and it neutralizes the free radical. So that's really how it works, real simple, and I try and make it real simple for people. But kudzu, it relieves headaches and migraines. It relieves eye strain. They've used it for stiff neck syndrome, vertigo. It's got antihistamine and anti-inflammatory properties. And all this stuff, of course, is anecdotal, and there's no, you can't say that there's any research that says it claims that it cures or treats anything like that. So I always want to make sure that people realize that this is purely anecdotal evidence, but isn't that the best anyhow? If somebody says, hey, I tried this and it worked, maybe you ought to try it. And that's really how network marketing is all built too. But there's red clover isoflavones in there, in the inner chi. It balances the mood, the mind, the body. There's a phytoestrogen called formamentin, which binds to the receptor sites, and this is really so cool. It binds to the receptor sites where the female hormone estrogen goes. And what the studies show, and there's actual studies on this. This isn't something I'm just making up. There's actual studies that say that if you bind this formamentin to the receptor sites, what it does is it blocks the cancer cells from being able to attach. And if the cancer cells can't attach, guess what? And I'm going to leave it like that. Guess what? Because if the cancer cells can't attach, what does that mean? And we can't say cure or treat, but, draw your own conclusion from that. We hear a lot of people talking about they use products with black cohosh, and they say it has these ingredients in it. But, those products have been studied, and no product has been found to contain these ingredients. None of those products seem to have what they say they have. But then on top of it, you start looking at the different extracts, the daidzein. It helps out with thinning hair. It helps out with hair loss. It helps balance out cholesterol. You got Equal that helps makes women have healthy hair, but also it makes them have the skin and nails and eyelashes of a 20-year-old female. I mean, holy cow, from a natural product with no known side effects, you can get these kind of results. And it also helps with metabolic syndrome, because a lot of metabolic syndrome, like I was talking about diabetes, it affects the weight loss. And so here again, we're talking about January 1st, what's everybody going to do? Well, they're going to go, they're going to have New Year's resolutions. Well, here's a product that you can add to that, and it's really going to, for just really right around $1 a day, it's going to help with the weight loss. It's going to help balance the hormones. It's going to help prevent certain types of diseases, which I can't name. But you think about that, for $1 a day, which one of us on the phone or listening to this recording isn't worth $1 a day to help prevent some of that stuff? And with men, we're going to have better blood flow. We're going to have better blood pressure. We're going to have healthy prostate. We're going to have the same type of effect where it binds to the receptor sites in the prostate and helps prevent some of that. But the masculine look with youthful hair and enhancing muscles so that you stay younger, you look younger for longer in your life. I mean, it's just amazing, DW, and I've been looking at the clock trying to keep on time here. I just can't go on and on and on about this product enough, about what it does. I always recommend it to people, and if they're having a difficulty with weight loss, it really is one of those products that you guys say, okay, you aren't losing weight with just using the Sisel. Maybe you're having a hormonal issue. Let's take a look at inner chi. So, DW, back to you.
Well, I tell you what, Doc, I had about 7 or 8 questions for you. But we're going to be running out of time. Let's just kind of recap what you're talking about here is what causes some of the challenges. Obviously, the food is, what we think we're eating looks the same, smells the same, tastes the same as what our grandparents and great-grandparents had, but the nutritional value is not in there. And then to keep the bugs and stuff off of it, they slam it with the pesticides. And those guys that are going organic, they got the worms and stuff in there that can cause trouble as well. So, obviously we're going to use one of our products called Veggie Cleanse. and clean the food before you eat it. I mean, just period, especially going into Thanksgiving. I mean, you got, turkeys and meat. Just clean everything before you eat it, and you're going to be in a way better spot. And then you've got Inner Chi for him. And I remember Tom talking about this one time. Maurer, our science chief scientist that helped develop and bring this product to the team. He talked about Inner Chi for the guys. Doc, it helps with what's going on with the brains. It helps what's going on with the heart, and it helps what's going on with the prostate. And that is a big deal. And for the women and for the gals out there, it also is going to help with some of the hormonal things that are going on. And it's going to throw some blockers in there to try to block as many cancer onslaughts that could come at you. And then, so there's some things like that. And then obviously with all the female organs and stuff, us guys, we don't have a clue what our gals go through. We don't have a clue. And the best way I can explain it, what if someone grabbed you and just threw you, and within 2 seconds, you landed on top of the Empire State Building? And you kind of got your bearings and go, man, where am I? And you realize you're up there. By the time you figure out where you are, someone grabs you and slams you and throws you back down to the ground. And that process happens all day long. It fatigues you, it wears you out, and then you've been going through that process for one day, maybe two, before you realize it's caused irritability, before you realize that it's caused frustration. And then our ladies, they're very frustrated because they're like, man, I've been out of character, I've not been myself. Well, actually, your body has just put you through something that most guys couldn't even think about handling. And what Tom has done, he's come in here and he's put a product together that is your new best friend, that wants to love on you, that wants to help you as an individual take on your day and take on monthly challenges and even going into menopause challenges and and things that you're going through. So in another product that supports a lot of the hormonal and mood swings of both guys and gals. Guys just get cranky and they just get grouchy and they get their boxers in a bunch and they just get rah. And they need 3 or 4 Inner Chis for him. They need a couple slams of the Ultramax. And but we have a product called Ultramax, and if you're got irritability outside of Max, it'll relax and bring you down. If you're depressed and discouraged, it lifts you up and puts you in that balance that you need. You're going through the chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and a lot of the autoimmune diseases that are out there. You drink about 1/3 of a bottle of that a day, and then that's going to make a difference there. We've got, there's, you take Miss Hone, for example, my sweetheart. She will not go. Doc Kirk, she won't go without the Inner Chi for her. And she makes sure that I'm on it as well because, you want to do preventive. And, with the pace that we run, are you kidding me? My body's going to be fatigued, and it gives you that extra support that we're not getting nutrition-wise. And so Doc got into some of the things that's in the product as far as ingredients goes. But I'm telling you right now, we got one of our key leaders. Marianne absolutely loves the Inner Chi for her and him. And, and her husband, he's a smart man. He makes sure he orders. There's plenty that's ordered so that she's got that support because she's running and gunning, can't be worrying about what's on the shelves. This is a product you want to have on hand and you want to have available. Stuff that backs it up is your Encompass 360, gives you a foundation, and then also your Triangle of Life helps support all in delivering the nutrition and what Dr. Kirk talked about is the having the water system that delivers the nutrients into the cell because the hydrogen becomes like a needle pulling the nutritions right in there and dropping them into the cell and it's therapeutic to the cell, so it's massive. So I kind of did a little bit of a recap and threw a couple things, and I'm telling you, everybody that's hearing this call, this is a big deal call. If you're telling me you love someone, then you want to have some conversations around, hey, we got some things that can support you and keep you into a zone and keep your hormones into a lane and keep what's going on with you in a manageable state. Because a little bit of stress, like Doc talked about, man, it could set things off. A little bit of stress, lack of nutrition, add a bunch of extra toxins on not just what you're putting your hands in when it comes to dish soap and getting toxins soaking into your body. It weakens things down after a period of time. You've got a few leaks here, a few leaks there, and you've just caused yourself some major challenges. So, Dr. Kurt, was that okay what I said there, big guy?
Man, you are the man. I really like how you do that. You wrap it up. You bring all the products in. You make this thing just go in a full circle so people can go out and now they can take all the science and they go, here's what these guys told me I need to do, and just do it.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine going through life now after an experience and what I went through a year and a half ago, not having the energy, not having the Ultramax. And Ultramax, I'll do just a swig a day, just literally one swig a day. And I've got so much energy anyway, Smith Helen won't let me have the whole bottle. But I'll just do a little swig. I'm serious, brother. It's just a little swig a day, keeps things going. Our healthy coffee also supports some of these issues as well that you're going. So we hit it from an herbal angle, we hit it from a cellular angle, and we hit it from an absorption on a cellular level as well. And so you've got what you need. It's in your hands and to help. And Dr. Kurt talked about young girls coming into their menstrual cycle. Well, we've also helped a lot of gals that they're going into their 19s and 20s and haven't had their first cycle yet. That is how out of balance their body was. And we put them on what we have our hands on, and the relief and the help that they get is absolutely incredible. And we base this on results and along with the backed up science. So it's fun. Get you a few bottles of what we're talking about, and give yourself a 120-day test and ask the people around you, if they notice a difference, because they're liable to notice a difference way faster than what you do. Because we always think that, man, we just really got it going on, and there's times that, man, I just get cranky, I just get moody, and so when I have the products that come in and give me the proper nutrition to support that, we can take life on at a different pace and a different speed. And we just wanted to thank you for being part of the Doctor's Clinic call tonight. Make sure you share this with a few of your friends. If you love them and care about them, you're probably going to want them to hear this. And no one is judging anyone here. We're just supporting you with what your body naturally goes through. You're not getting the support nutrition, but you can get it now. And we've got the supplementation, and it is a difference maker. Energy, one of your new best friends. Thanks for being part of the Dr. Clinic's the Dr. Clinic call, and we'll be back here next Tuesday night, same time, same place. Subject soon to be announced.